All the way back in 2009, Sir Alex Ferguson was asked, would Manchester City ever sit above Manchester United? He said, not in my lifetime. That very same year, his team played in the Champions League final and lost to one Pep Guardiola's Barcelona side. A couple of years later, Pep Guardiola arrived at Manchester City. He's won 5 league titles and is now on course to match Sir Alex Ferguson's greatest achievement in the treble. So that begs the question, is this the greatest Premier League side ever? And is Pep Guardiola the greatest manager that football has ever seen? Well, I'm going to be talking about that in this video. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy, subscribe if you are new, and let's get into it. Before we even get into the conversation of the best Premier League side ever, is this even the best Manchester City side ever? A few years ago we had the Centaurians, 18-19, when they were absolutely fantastic, beating a Liverpool side that only lost one game in the entire year. Even last season they were absolutely brilliant, but this season it feels like something is different, and that's what I like to call the Haaland factor. I don't know if you've noticed him, but he's done alright. He's almost scored 60 goals. There's the argument Haaland has made Man City worse. I don't know who's arguing that, but if you are one of those people, you are an idiot, because that man is a machine. I recall the game last year where Man City drew 0-0 to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. They had all the ball and they continuously crossed the ball into the box. The only problem was they had no one to cross to. Jesus was Man City's only striker, and he isn't really a striker, is he? Because he's not necessarily clinical. He'll get you 15 goals a season at max. So when Man City were putting crosses into the box, they were really only putting it in for wingers who weren't physically big enough to get onto a header. Over the last 2 years where Man City didn't have a striker, they had moments of individual brilliance from their many world-class players to compensate for the lack of a clinical goal scorer. They had 4 or 5 wingers scoring 10 goals a season. Now Haaland is here, he's scoring all the goals, he's scored 50. Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish, Kevin De Bruyne, world-class playmakers can continue to create chances for Erling Haaland, and even if Haaland isn't on it, they still have that individual brilliance to maybe create something for themselves. They still have players that are going to score goals even if Haaland is in the team. City still have several world-class players. They still have those moments of individual brilliance. Yes, maybe Erling Haaland isn't as good on the ball as Gabriel Jesus, but he's also going to score 4 times the amount of goals. It's a stupid argument. Clearly Erling Haaland has made this team a lot more dangerous. So they have an attack with a striker that scored over 50 goals in all competitions this season, also having some of the best players in the world that are world-class playmakers and will also pop up with a few goals. They have the best defensive midfielder on the planet in Rodri, the best midfielder on the planet, Kevin De Bruyne. The defence is very solid. The only thing I would give out about this Manchester City side is Ederson, who I don't really rate. I do think they could upgrade on the goalkeeper department, but to be fair to him, his distribution is world-class, so if that's the way City want to play, he is important to it. They had the Premier League title won with 3 games to spare. It was very impressive considering how far ahead Arsenal were, but City won almost every single game since February, and City have now won the league for the 3rd time in a row. So that's one of the 3 trophies for the treble wrapped up. They're now in the FA Cup final versus Man United, a team struggling to score goals, while Man City are the complete and utter opposite. Let's just look at their 3 home games in the Champions League knockout stages. 7-0 versus RB Leipzig, 3-0 versus Bayern Munich, and the most impressive of the lot, a 4-0 win versus Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final. So they're into the Champions League final, a trophy that has slipped away from them in the last few years, the one they want the most, the one they still haven't won. Well, they face off against Inter Milan in the Champions League final, a team that currently sits 3rd in Serie A. They aren't having a very good season, and the only reason they're 3rd is because Juventus got a point deduction again. So Guardiola's side is 2 games off achieving the treble, something that is only done once before, and all they need is 2 half-decent performances because the 2 teams they face off against aren't in the best of form. I'm absolutely convinced Man City will win the treble. It's more likely of it happening than it is to not, because the 2 teams that they face off against in their 2 finals, they should be beating, and they should be beating them comfortably. Some people will still believe Guardiola is going to overthink the final. It's an absolute myth. That man is a genius. Who would have thought while John Stones was at Everton that he would be playing in midfield in a Champions League semi-final in a game he would be winning 4-0 versus Real Madrid? I don't know what this Christmas tree formation of 3-2-4-1 is by Guardiola. I've never seen the likes of it before, probably won't see any other manager use it again, but it's clearly working. If we just individually go through that Manchester City team that played against Real Madrid, you will see how good this team is. Ederson, he's a good goalkeeper. I don't think he's as good as people say he is. Very good distribution, not the best shot stopper, but he is still decent. Kyle Walker isn't even Man City's best option in this setup, but he is still absolutely brilliant. Ruben Diaz is a world-class defender, no doubt one of the best on the planet. He's only 26 and will no doubt be one of the best Premier League centre-backs of all time if he stays at Man City when he retires. Akanji was terrible at Dortmund last season and was bought by Man City on the cheap, and he has been brilliant this season. John Stones, like I said, for some reason is now a midfielder and he's doing a very good job there. Rodri is the best defensive midfielder on the planet. I don't think there's any debate about that. He is unbelievable. Bernardo Silva is an absolute magician. He's probably in the shadow of Kevin De Bruyne, who is the best midfielder on the planet. Ilkay Gundogan, Man City's captain, is still showing up in the big games at 32. Jack Grealish, the apparent £100 million flop, has been absolutely amazing this season. What a signing he's been. And do I have to talk about Erling Haaland even more, because that man has scored over 50 goals in all competitions this season. And then you look at the bench, you have the likes of Julian Alvarez, Phil Foden and Aymeric Laporte. All three of those players could probably go for about 50 million euros. You also have Riyad Mahrez. Nathan Ake has been amazing this season. He was injured. And some people might argue they're only that good because of the amount of money they've spent. City, since Pep Guardiola's arrived, have the second best net spend out of the big six, only bettered by Liverpool. While they've spent a lot of money, they've also sold a lot of players. Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, recent examples. So the way the apparent oil club has spent since Pep Guardiola has arrived has been better than the likes of Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal. Man City's business under Pep Guardiola has definitely been successful, for the most part anyway. Go back to the summer of 2021. Manchester United signed Jadon Sancho for a less price than Man City signed Jack Grealish. Me personally, I was looking like that Man United got the better deal. They got the better player, the former Man City Youth Academy graduate. But now we look back in hindsight, Man City may have paid more money, but it looks like they've got the better deal, as Grealish has been one of the best players in the Premier League, while I can't recall a single good performance from Sancho this season. I think we're at the stage where City are going to be considered a big club, because the last couple of years they've consistently been one of the best teams in the world. They've consistently won league titles. They've invested in the youth academy, the likes of Gavin Bazunu, who sold last summer. He never played a single game for Man City and they got 15 million euros from. They're clearly generating revenue. And I think people should start to take Man City more serious as a big club. And I do think that is largely due to Pep Guardiola, as he has consistently won league titles, 5 league titles, several Carabao Cups, several FA Cups. It now looks like he's going to add the Champions League and go on to win the treble. If Man City win the remaining Premier League game, they will have almost 20 more points than the Man United treble side that won the league. The league is more difficult now, and City are still walking it because they're simply the best. They're the best Premier League side ever, in my opinion. Even if they don't go on to win the treble, I still think this is the best Premier League side ever, because this City side, when they beat Real Madrid 4-0, that was the moment I realised what Pep Guardiola had made. An absolute monster of a team that no one on the planet wants to play. The scariest thing about this team is you only feel like they're going to get better, because they're going to reinvest in the summer. They're going to bring in better players, make their squad even better, and this time next year I could be talking about the new best Premier League team ever. Pep Guardiola has said himself he can only win the Champions League with Messi. That's all going to change in a few weeks, because he is going to win the Champions League. He is going to win the treble, and City will only go on to get better. They will go on to dominate Europe, and then finally will get the respect they deserve as a big club. But let me know what you think in the comments. Is this Man City side the greatest Premier League side ever? And if you disagree, which team is? If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate a like. If you are new to the channel, I'd appreciate if you could subscribe. It would help me out a lot. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.